the loud banging music that they have going on there, that they shout at me when I come into the door, that I can't understand what they're saying because they speak so fast and I can't hear over the music. I'm deaf in one ear. They don't cater to elders at all. My whole thing is I'm 70. I need a little stool. Turn the music down so I can hear what you're saying. Show me on a plain list what my options are and explain them to me. But you don't get that in a dispensary here. If you ask more than one or two questions, they'll switch out bud tenders on you.
Welcome to Season 5 of the Cannabis Truth Podcast. Your host is Honey Smith Walls, author of the new book, Healing Beyond High, Cannabis Truth, a gentle, practical guide for elders to learn cannabis fundamentals safely and effectively without overuse or overwhelm. In a world where the FDA has yet to stamp its approval on this ancient natural remedy, Honey Smith Walls bridges the gap between Western healthcare norms, uplifting benefits and relief through gentle cannabis plant therapies. Join this 21st century cannabis shaman, uniquely positioned to assess the green intentions of medical, farming, and business industries in cannabis and uncover fascinating historical, political, scientific, and spiritual facets of the plant.
Gosh, I'm so tickled to meet with you, and thank you so much for your time. Dr. Kelly Hefferon, a DO. Where are you? Are you in Oklahoma or Ohio or Michigan?
I'm in Michigan.
Yay!
I'm in Michigan, yes. And I also have a license in Ohio and Oklahoma.
That just tickles me to death because I'm a Tulsa girl.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
I see a lot of your brethren out there.
Yeah, I bet you do. Yeah, they were all waiting for cannabis to come in for, as long as everybody else. And when it finally did, boy, cannabis came in a big way in Oklahoma, didn't it?
Yes, but it was it was on the ballot last year, I believe, recreational, and it did not pass.
Isn't that interesting?
Yes, and what is also interesting, I had a lot of patients that did not want it recreational. They were afraid that it was people were going to go out and drive their roads and, cause all sorts of problems.
But that isn't the problem with going recreational after medical comes in. The real problem is that they get rid of the information around medical because the dispensaries will not be responsible for anything that happens to you while you're high on their THC, right, which is all they care about selling.
Yes, and I went to Oaksterdam University, the cannabis. I did the and they were talking about how since there is recreational, there is a trend to genetically enhance the THC of the plant. So a lot of the old time strains are being,
they're gone, aren't they?
Bred up. Yeah. Now I think you can still find some of the old stuff, the Maui Wowie and Pineapple Express, but you have to really look for it. And I think they don't charge as much for that because the THC content isn't as high.
But Kelly, how would you know? Maui Wowie is just a name.
That's true.
It's just a name. The names don't tell us anything. And that's what, our patients are just relying on hearsay and reputation, right.
I have a lot of people new to cannabis now that it's catching on. And I've even overheard in Starbucks lines, people talking, some ladies whispering about it. Oh, it's legal now. Have you tried it? And once it's legal in the state, people are pretty happy about it. Now we are, I do have a lot of people that are new to cannabis, and a lot of them are over 60, and mainly it's the main reasons are arthritis, insomnia, anxiety. And I think there's a study out now that shows that it does help for anxiety in people that are getting older. And there's a lot of anxiety that goes with getting older, you know. There's not as much money coming in. You worry about your health, you worry about your strength, and there's a lot of anxiety. And the people that get it for the anxiety, they come back and they are like, this has really made my life a lot better. I can sleep at night. I'm not as anxious as I was before. And a lot of them have their arthritis. A lot of
Needs
their
taken care of.
arthritis. Yes.
Right. And IBS and spasming organs that
Yes.
make them get up in the middle of the night, and,
Oh, yes.
neuropathic pain, and
Yes.
that, that anxiety, that's worrying over your future. And depression
Right.
is sadness over your past. And
Right.
so cannabis can really, really alleviate both the future anxiety and the past depression for people.
Yes.
But you really have to know how to not only dose it, but how to choose the right product. And the name Maui Wowie just ain't going to cut it. You're going to have
Right.
to find out about some cannabis fundamentals so
Oh,
that you
yes.
really understand what you're going to buy. And
Well, uh, the first thing I look at when I like to find the right route for the patient,
yeah,
because there are a lot of patients, they don't want to smoke it, or if they do smoke it, it's a bad thing for them.
mm-hmm.
So the route is also very important. And I have people, they were like, they didn't even know about tinctures, and they
Right.
had a card.
Yeah.
They had a card, and it's like, that's new to me. And I did hear a podcast. You were talking to another doctor, and
Oh,
you were talking about all the importance. Most of these doctors just come on. What do you have? Okay, that's fine. Here's your card. Like, I like to get not just into their, because I'm an internist, I like to get into their medical problems, although I don't address that. I leave that with their primary care. But I also like to counsel. Like, I like to know, I like to go through all the pregnancy uh, problems, I like to go,
onboarding history of your patients.
right.
Right.
And I like to educate them about risks
Yes, because
and
there
potential
are.
risks.
Right.
Yes. Yes. If
You
they
know, if
have
you're an old
arrhythmia.
fart on warfarin for your heart issues, then,
Exactly.
you shouldn't be
Yeah.
using
And
too much
CBD.
CBD if you're going onto a surgery table, because you'll probably bleed. Well, you won't probably, but, CBD is a bit of a blood thinner. And so you don't
Yes.
want to be putting that on top of your warfarin, which is a blood
Right.
thinner.
Right.
So,
And I also, some of the people that use the other anticoagulants that are not warfarin, I just tell them we don't know. But since it does interfere with that coagulation cascade, we don't want to take any risks. Just avoid CBD. You do need to educate the people. And they ask, like yesterday, some gentleman asked me what terpenes are good for arthritis.
that he knew the word even. That's
Yeah, well,
amazing.
he didn't know. He was, am I saying that right? And I told him about the caryophyllene. And then I did have a young lady, she asked me what terpenes are good for anxiety.
Yeah,
Uh,
great.
yeah. And I told her, the linalool and the citrulline.
Have you
But
discovered beta caryophyllene yet? The
I
term.
I haven't, oh, yeah,
Okay,
for
because it is
arthritis.
a
Yes.
huge anti-anxiety anxiolytic.
Oh,
I use it daily, even on top of my cannabis use. But I got to tell
okay.
you, it has decreased my cannabis use because it
Really?
takes care of stuff that cannabis wasn't quite getting for me. for
Yeah, that
me.
entourage.
And
Okay.
so it it not only lifted my mood when I was in a spiraling depression, um, and I had great fear over my future because my husband had just died. A couple of my girlfriends croaked right behind him, and all that death around old farts sort of gets you thinking up here and
Anxious.
worrying. Yeah, yeah, really anxious. And I've got a colleague in the science industry, cannabis, and he discovered all this stuff about beta caryophyllene and then put a product out, and I got it, and oh my glory, I was shocked at how it instantly lifted me. Now, beta caryophyllene acts differently than the other terpenes
Okay.
because it acts on your CB1 receptors as well as your CB2. And
Okay.
so it acts like a cannabinoid, which is a little bit different than the other terpenes.
Yes.
And so it just goes all over the place inside your body and inside the endocannabinoid system, and really can alleviate a ton of issues. So I've been, I preach the good word about using cannabis for safely and effectively and avoiding contamination. That's my whole soapbox. But I'm 70, and I just found out about the power of this one terpene, and I
Yeah.
can use beta caryophyllene in this liposomal drop form, tincture form,
Okay.
and I wouldn't have to use cannabis, but I combine them, and now I've got a full spectrum complement of all the cannabinoids and terpenes in the cannabis plant because I smoke the raw flower.
Yeah.
So I'm layering my cannabinoids and my terpenes, right?
Right. And I think a lot of people are aware, especially in the recreational department, people just want the highest THC content, and they are not looking at that entourage effect where you're getting more of the cannabis. Just in the recreational area, they're looking for just a high THC content. When if they used the whole plant, something with the entourage effect, so that you
That's
get
right.
all the CBDs, the CBGs, all of that in there, and some people are just chasing that THC and say, why don't I feel better? And it's like, well, maybe you need a little bit more of this or a little bit more CBD in your. And once they do get something like a rosin gummy, which has more of the cannabinoids and terpenes in there, they do notice a difference.
Yeah, because, well, for the longest, up until this year, all I could preach was full spectrum, and isolate just isn't going to give you the same effect as all these other compounds stacked together that already love each other and already
Mhm.
want to do the job of helping whatever's wrong inside of you, as opposed to just one little terpene, like CBD, or one little cannabinoid like CBD, that yes, it has a great medicinal value and can help you a lot, but it won't help you as much
Right.
as the full spectrum and complement of all
Right.
those hundreds of
Right.
compounds.
Yeah,
So that's
sometimes you need
how,
some of those to open the gateways for the other
right, the
cannabinoids to
other
come.
issues. Right.
Mhm.
It's not the polypharmacy of big pharma.
Mhm.
It's their idea is to make one compound target one thing in your body and be damned the side effects.
Oh, yes. Oh, and that is another thing I do is I do have some people, they stop all their medication and they think that cannabis is going to cure their seizures and
Well,
their heart, their high blood pressure. But I mean, like totally cure. But there are some people, right? He stopped his Capra, and I'm like, no, no, no. So once I explained to him that this is it, this is something in addition to your anti-seizure medication. I explained to him how important it is not to have a seizure, because a seizure, you cause a little brain damage with every seizure, he understood and he's like, okay, I'll go back on my medication. Whereas, you also got to make sure they're not stopping some things that are important.
This is the problem with recreational.
Well, hello, I'm Dr. Philip Blair, and I want to introduce you to Honey Smith Walls. And she recently had an experience with beta-caryophyllene.
I was gobsmacked, absolutely gobsmacked. So I had terrible, terrible arthritis, still do, in my hands and my feet. Have some serious neuropathy in my fingertips that had been awakening me every hour on the hour all night long for months. All I could think about was pain, 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 pain. And so my personality, this girl had completely disappeared. Next thing you know, I find out about your product.
Right.
And what beta-caryophyllene can really do. Within minutes of taking my first dose, I could feel the sadness just lifting. This is the problem with recreational. Up here, when I just moved up to Michigan about a year and a half ago, and I came from medical Florida, where, everything just comes in a little white jar, with just the word on it, and no fancy schmancy anything, and lots of education. Up here, you go into a dispensary and you will not get an education except about the percentage of THC that you're about to purchase. They won't tell you about looking at the COA because most of the bud tenders don't even know what a COA is. And that audience is a certificate of analysis. You all know that. You all are smarty pants. So, but when Michigan first started with medical, they had over 400,000 patients. When they went to recreational, they've now only got 30,000, including me. And so, and when I go into a dispensary to just try to do a little research, I have not yet been able to come out of a dispensary successfully without heart-pounding palpitations, jitters, nerves, and about to have, a serious PTSD event because of the loud banging music that they have going on there, that they shout at me when I come into the door, that I can't understand what they're saying because they speak so fast and I can't hear over the music. I'm deaf in one ear. They have no place for me to sit down except maybe in a really low chair that I can't get back up out of. They don't cater to elders at all. And my whole thing is I'm 70. I need a little, give me a stool, turn the music down so I can hear what you're saying. Show me on a plain list what my options are and explain them to me. But you don't get that in a dispensary here. If you ask more than one or two questions, they'll switch out bud tenders on you.
Will they? I know they'll put more of the analysis on the websites than they used to, but it's basically how much THC, how much THCA, how much CBD, and how much CBN.
Kelly, they don't sell tinctures in these dispensaries up here in Michigan.
Oh, really?
Nope.
Oh,
no point in it. They don't. It's not a moneymaker for them.
Oh, that's why. Gotcha. Yeah. Well, maybe, I don't know.
I don't know either.
I think they're talking about it going, now I'm wondering if it is legalized federally, are they going to just take it down the schedule, which would put some people in a situation because would some states require now, if you do want it, you have to be medical, because if you're Schedule 3, that's almost on the same par as a Tylenol with codeine.
Exactly.
So now you're making it from an illicit drug to medicine legally. You're doing
in
that
our system, and
right.
That would allow medical doctors like yourself to begin releasing the stigma they have
Oh,
about
yeah.
this, over the legality of using it,
Yeah.
over the education of using it. They've got no education until they dive into it themselves at this point.
But I wonder, I don't think that'll take away recreational from the other states that are already. I don't
I
think you're
don't
putting
either.
genie
But I
back in.
think it will include a medicinal educational component that allows us to go through our insurance systems, that
Oh, yeah.
allows for us to pay with our credit cards now, that allows
Mhm.
us to advertise about cannabis so that people, the general public, can begin learning about it
Mhm.
and stop fighting the big elephant of lies in the room about it.
I think you're going to have quite a fight with your regular physician.
Yeah.
A lot of them are now some of them are easing up, but they'll still say, I can't get you a card, and then they'll come to me. I do mine all telemedicine, which makes it easier for a lot of people. Sometimes it makes it easier on older people. Sometimes it makes it harder.
Well, right.
Because
There's
of the
still
tech.
generation still is not really very tech savvy. My
Right.
generation, my the 70-year-olds and up are not really that. And even the 60-year-olds, I find.
Yeah, I
No.
think it's more of it's they're getting better at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as the regular doctors, there are a lot of them, and then there are other cultures that it's a cultural thing. If you're coming
Sure.
from another culture,
You know,
you're like, I don't want to give that to my patient because it's illegal. And it's like, but
it's
it's
also a plant medicine, and I
right,
don't know anything about it. So I'm not going to start talking to it about my patients because I don't know.
right. And it used to be legal before 1910, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm just wondering though if if they made it Schedule 3, I don't think they would take some of those states and make it medicinal only. I don't think so. Yeah, I guess it would depend on the
Oh,
state.
right. Yeah, it's a big mess. And
Yeah.
one of the reasons our presidents, not just the current one, have been unable to undo it is because of the worldwide treaties between other countries that the Reagans managed and maneuvered. So there's all that, untying of treaties because other countries will behead you for even thinking about cannabis,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
there are some countries that, still lots of prisoners,
Uh-huh.
including
Yes.
ours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a big mess, but I'm so tickled to see that you got into it. And how did you come into this? Dr.
Well,
Kelly, tell us.
I had I made house calls. That was my practice. And yeah, it was getting to, then the pandemic hit. And I was thinking, I didn't want to go around and spread COVID because
Right.
if I had one patient who had it, I could give it to 7
Exactly.
people down the line that day. So I had to do telehealth. And then I was driving around one day, I was losing more money and more money. I said, well, what truly makes me happy? And I said, well, I was happiest, with my hippie friends at a Rusted Root concert and people like that. I'm not arguing over vaccinations. I'm not telling people they need to do this and they won't do it. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to start proving cards. And once I did, I liked it so much. I said, you know what? I need to get more education in this. Then when I was taking the classes through Oaksterdam, I was really getting an education. And I
Yeah.
said, you know what? This is a niche
Yeah.
that other doctors haven't, not a lot of other doctors have tapped into, and this could be my niche. And I honestly started to like it more than primary care. And there was a lot, I didn't have all that overhead and insurance issues. So I just decided to go into cannabis medicine exclusively. And I've been working for several companies. And now I've got my own, Dr. Cannabis, Kennabis.
I
I
saw it
thought,
online. I went there.
oh, did you? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought Kenna would be cute because it's a girl's name.
Yep.
Yeah. And
I love it.
but I'll tell you, there are a lot of problems because you are cannabis. I mean, I had GoDaddy didn't want to do a website with me.
Exactly.
I
The
actually
public
read that
doesn't know
right.
this stuff, but yeah.
Yeah.
I had to, the
I-
bank wouldn't open a business bank account for me under the name of Cannabis Truth, which is the name of my podcast. So I called it Cannabiverum LLC.
Okay.
That's Latin for
Okay.
Cannabis Truth.
Yes, it is.
And of course, they just opened that bank account right up. I never told them what it meant.
Oh, that's funny. Because I'm not, if I have tried to pay my business card, use my business credit card for cannabis conferences, and they will not go through. I have to go through my private.
Ain't it crazy as hell?
It is.
Audience,
Yeah.
what we're talking about is our government restricting the cannabis industry and not allowing anybody who has a cannabis business of practically any kind. You see, I don't even touch the plant, and they try to restrict me. You know, and Dr. Hefferon here tries to help patients become, have access to cannabis, and they don't let her do business properly. This is a legitimate, legal business. Both of ours are. We
Yes.
both pay taxes on these businesses, and yet they restrict us from advertising and from using credit cards and from going on television and talking about it. We can't do ads or marketing in magazines,
Right.
And so it's a real big shitty problem in the cannabis industry for all of us who are especially business owners, and we're all small business.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
small
No.
business. We're,
Yeah.
solopreneurs.
Yes.
And we're not 7-figure people. I'm not
No.
even 6-figure. I'm not even
No.
4 figures.
I know.
So, I've been doing this for 6 years, trying to get the word out. My podcast is not monetized. I do this totally for free. And then I try to, get affiliates that I love, like Dr. Dustin Sulak of healer.com and Megan Bang from Trusted Cana Nurse. And also, I'm going to name my third affiliate, Dr. Philip Blair, who puts out this terpene product that I was talking about earlier.
Okay.
BC Plus is the name of that. But I don't do any business with that, really. I don't make any money on that. I use those products and I tell my audience about them because I trust them. And it's very damn hard to find anybody in the cannabis industry to trust if you're just a regular Joe or Jane.
Right.
Who do you trust?
Right. Right. And in order for me, like I had a bank account because I was, had my regular practice. So that was established. But then in order to get paid, that was an issue because every time they looked at it was really funny. Square, well,
Yep.
I'm not going to go into all that, but in order to get paid, they would go look at my website and then they'd say, no, we can't deal with you. Well, I ended up getting software through Canada, and Canada said you can use your practitioner URL. So when they went on there, they saw that I was a legitimate physician and they didn't see my website. So they went ahead, and that's how I had to get funding.
Isn't it bizarre that we have to do these double back somersaults to, it's not,
Yeah.
it's just ridiculous. It's
Oh, yeah.
ridiculous. You're a doctor, a DO. In fact, I'm so proud of you for that.
Well, thank you.
Choice.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I didn't realize the difference between, medical doctors and DOs for some time. And
we actually learn a little more.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it for a second, because the doctors of osteopath have a holistic attitude, and medical doctors are just taught what they're taught, and that's the end of it. And it seems like that education just doesn't go any further. I'm furious over hormonal health and lack thereof of, reliable information, what to do. I'm 70 and still asking huge questions about what do I do? What do I do?
Oh, yeah. Well,
and it's the same for cannabis. What do I do? What do I do? I know I want to try it, but what do I do? And how do I do it? Who do I go to? And how can I trust? All those questions. Well,
I think there are a lot of good cannabis doctors, but there are some companies I quit just because their standards were so low.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they said, well, if you just did 5-minute appointments, I'm like, I can't get in anything in 5 minutes.
That's crazy.
It is crazy, because and how would you feel if you were a patient and you had questions and I'm rushing you through? I like talking about cannabis with people. That's why I fit this. Primary care was great when I had it, but yeah. I like talking about cannabis all day.
I do too. That's why I do a podcast. And I've noticed that there's not really anybody talking about cannabis online, except in private little, there's no education going on there because of the restrictions.
Right. And I asked a friend of mine a few years, do you want to go into some cannabis thing with me? And she said, not the way the federal government is, because they'll come in and shut us down.
Yeah. There's a big fear of that, and justly so.
Yeah.
Because you just cannot trust our government in this day and age over cannabis. They say one thing and they do another. So, yeah. Sorry, you probably hear my little wolves down here. I got 5 of them in the room with me. Oh. Well, be quiet. So, yeah, I'm quite frustrated by the status of cannabis, and yet quite hopeful too.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, I'm hoping though that there'll still be room for medical in there.
There's got it. See, I think if they bring it down through the system, through a Schedule 3, that will mandate to the physicians that they must learn, they must accept, and be able to offer this to the patients, or they must have a viable way of sending their patients to the specialist.
Yes. Yeah.
If the medical doctors want to treat cannabis as a specialty and just send them to specialist doctors, that's fine with me too. But it's got to be through a system that we can use, all of our insurance and all of that, because cannabis is medicine, and it can replace a lot of polypharmacy that patients are on. But you really have to do that in titration with a doctor's watching you. You just don't drop medications on your own. Just don't do that. That's a surefire way to really get yourself in trouble fast. Right. So, and my audience already knows I'm no doctor or scientist or anything, but I'm 70 damn years old, and I've got a little experience with some of this, and I've learned an awful lot. I didn't go to Amsterdam, by the way. I went to its sister school in Florida. So, okay. Learn Sativa is the name of its sister school, and the owner and founder of that school went to Amsterdam out in California, and stayed out there with those guys for about 5 years, learning the trade and how to bring up a new university like Amsterdam.
Yeah, because you need the growing facet, you need the business facet,
have to learn it all, really, to
Yeah.
get a good understanding of it. And we couldn't grow not even hemp at that time. It was not even legal.
Oh,
So
wow.
we grew tomatoes, which grow like cannabis. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Right. And then after I left the school, then they were able to start growing hemp and then whatever they grow now, I don't know.
It is interesting to see the different attitudes of the different states too.
Yep.
In Michigan, they'll tell you everything, how much every day. And then sometimes in Oklahoma, some people are a little apprehensive to even tell you they've tried it in the past. And I'm like, if you're going to tell anybody, I'm the one you want to tell.
That's right.
Yeah.
But patients don't know. Patients are still so stigmatized by the legality of it because they've been told all their lives, no, no, no.
Right, right. And in
So,
Texas, they think that the CBD, that's it, you know?
yeah, and ain't that a shame? And out in California, they're trying to cripple hemp. They're trying to cripple hemp, right, from having
Because
any THC in it. Now that's just done by a Democrat, I might add, Gavin Newsom. The governor out there is trying to cripple hemp, and he's doing it. He says, to get the fake stuff off the market, the fake D8, THC, all that.
Yeah.
But what he's doing is crippling the patients who need CBD for seizures and, and tumors and all other kinds of, things that they take CBD for. So, sorry, I've got a little puppy here just having a hissy fit, banging on me to come up in the lap. There he is.
That's okay.
So, and I give my puppies CBD during Halloween, and that's coming up for all that anxiety over the doorbells ringing and the goblins at the doors.
Oh yeah.
Taking.
That is also where education comes in. I need to put out something on my Instagram reminding parents about gummies, THC gummies, and now in Michigan there are mushroom gummies. So you really, you can buy bags of mushroom gummies, and a child would not know the difference.
Oh no. That's my other issue with dispensaries up here. They put everything in a flashy, colory, shiny bag with childlike critters on the front,
Right, but
then name it Pink Pussy.
Yeah, but you can't make it in the shape of a character. It has to be a square or something round. The kid's going to be attracted to the packaging before they even get to the candy.
Of course. And, I just bought 3 different bags of that kind of shit down the street a while ago. And I left my bag sitting on the kitchen table. And here come the kids after school. And they've always got a little snack. And they think, oh, Grammy bought me a snack. Rip.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's another thing I remind I ask all my every patient, do you have any, doesn't matter how old they are, do you have any young children in your home?
Right.
And some will say, oh, I just have grandkids visiting now and then. And I'll be like, but make sure you have a lockbox so that they don't find it. Because if children get into this, their breathing can decrease so much to where you have to take them into the emergency room. But they don't die, but they can go into like a bradycardia, they can go into a little bit of respiratory depression, I'd say. I wouldn't say distress.
Cannabinoids don't go anywhere near where it's going to stop you from breathing. Right,
but the children get so lethargic that the parents can't wake them up. And
the parents get scared and take them in. Right. Right.
But I have read that though, that it can slow down a child's breathing. I know it doesn't touch the medulla, but it's, you don't want your kid that.
There's so much about cannabis that we still have not discovered. And
I know.
we've only been in had the ability for scientists to even look at cannabis for the last maybe 15 years, maybe 20 years. I'm not sure it's even been 20 years. And then the endocannabinoid system, which is the 12th bodily system that we have, was only discovered in 1992. So all of this information, that piece of information alone, is why doctors need to learn about cannabis, because it binds to that system, the endocannabinoid system.
Right.
But, and the endocannabinoid system, I'm just saying this for the audience, I know you know this, the endocannabinoid system is a master regulatory system over all your other 11 systems. So your ECS is going to make sure everything else is working right. If it isn't, it's going to let you know, mostly by inflammation.
Pharmaceuticals usually they are designed to target one issue, one set of nerve endings, but they touch everything else. That's where you get your side effects. With cannabis,
thanks for saying it like that.
I'm sorry?
Thanks for saying it like that. That really was a visual for me.
Oh, yeah, they target only one thing, and then it touches all the nerves, so you get your side effects. But with cannabis, the cannabis may be taking care of the side effect of the thing you're targeting anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, the side effects of cannabis go out throughout your entire system, and they're good side effects. That's
right.
That you can have, that's not to say that there aren't bad side effects from cannabis. Like if you over medicate with THC, then it can not only spaz you out in your mind, but it will also can make you woozy, can make you feel paralyzed in your seat, can give you, heart palpitation, cold sweats, all kinds of stuff. So, over medicating with cannabis can be very uncomfortable. And that's why we try to use it as medicine and teach you how to titrate little doses, one at a time.
Yeah. Like neuropathy, yeah, you can use it. A lot of the medications that treat neuropathy can also cause suicidal thoughts. But cannabis,
lifts you up out of that. It sure does.
So it can hit more than one. It can prevent side effects, actually.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Right. Because the cannabinoids will try to tame whatever you got going on in your system, no matter what you've eaten or what you've ingested in polypharmacy. So, or in pharmaceuticals. So cannabinoids will try to manage that for you and make it all play more nicely together. That's the part of the entourage effect, having an effect on what you've already got going on in your body, in your system. It's a complicated, complex plant with hundreds and hundreds of compounds in it. But, like I tell lots of people, if you can butter and syrup pancakes, you can do this. Right? Yeah. It's easy to do and easy to live with. But it's a different philosophy. It's plant therapy. It's live plant therapy. It's not a pressed pill that they, made in a lab and sent it out by the jillions. It's alive. So you've got other things you have to think about, like the shelf life, or if that live compound sitting in there turned into a different compound. Because they will, if the sun catches it. That's why they usually put tinctures in dark bottles. So it's so much fun to educate people about this. It's a new world. Don't you feel like you're leading your society into a better, healthier space?
Yeah, I do. Because a lot of now the VA, they used to frown on cannabis use at all. Now they're telling their patients, go find a cannabis doctor, because they can't do it there because they're federal. But they're finally saying, go ahead and get cannabis, and I believe they used to drug test them, and if they had anything in their system, they couldn't get their pain medications. Well,
That's
I think
right.
they took cannabis off of that
I'm
recently.
so glad to hear that because it was a real problem in Florida with all the veterans that ran around in my husband's circle, and they would complain about it.
And
So,
we have a whole a lot of younger veterans now too.
and it's just, it's just part of their normal.
Yeah,
Cannabis is just part of the normal for the younger generations.
yeah,
It's our politicians, our old politicians, right, that are
right.
still stigmatized by it and not getting over themselves and still wanting to control as well.
Well, yeah, I think I was at a conference and they said that the government is trying very hard to compartmentalize the cannabinoids and all of that, so they can get a jump ahead of everyone else when it comes time to legalize, so that um, Big Pharma will have a jump ahead of everybody, which,
Right. Yeah, because that's the corporate attitude.
yeah.
And I think it's corporate from big pharma that got our medical physicians in trouble with patients by, just doing the one mode of business. You get, you know, big pharma tells you what they're creating, and then they school the doctors on that pill or that compound, and then the doctors
Mhm.
prescribe it.
And then they make three versions of the same thing, changing one side effect.
Right.
And then the doctor has to figure out, well, which one of those three is your insurance going to pay for? So
And they,
it's,
yeah. So we're gonna have. I don't know how we're gonna get new doctors. Well, there are masters in cannabinoidology now
Mhm.
in a few schools.
I did see.
So, right. And so that's very exciting. Anytime I
Mhm.
go to a doctor or go to a drugstore, I ask whoever I'm talking to what they know about the ECS. And that always tells me, what they're
Okay.
learning. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, this is so much fun.
Yeah.
Kelly, how can the audience get in touch with you and get their medical card through you? And oh, I've got one more question before you answer
Yes, sir.
that.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you heard? I'm not sure what state it's happening in yet, but have you heard that there has been a new law change now, and some state is actually having their pharmacies dispense cannabis?
Is that Utah
I thought it was like New Jersey
or
or
Maine? Uh,
yeah, somewhere.
Maine.
That's
I think so.
exciting
Yeah. Yeah. I believe so.
because who knows more about compounds in anything than pharmacists? That's what they study. It's not the medical doctors who study the compounds, they study the
Right.
diseases.
Right. Yeah. That's exciting to see.
I just love that. I think that's a great idea because the pharmacist can tell the patient, if there are any contraindications. And from studying the plant, he'll be able to direct them towards which terpenes and which, cannabinoids and which delivery methods would be best for morning, noon, or night, or whenever they need it, or for whatever.
That's right. That'd be
Oh, it's
great.
exciting. It's very
Yes.
exciting. So it's coming. I feel like
Yes.
it's coming. Let me ask you one more thing. Do
Yes.
you do you happen to see this rising in women like I'm noticing everywhere? It's like they're locking arms and lifting themselves up and learning things that mom and granny never taught them because they couldn't say those words or think about those things. It wasn't ladylike or church didn't believe in it or whatever.
Yeah, much bolder.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I just
Yeah.
feel like women are finally rising.
Well, also, I think it, most men over the age of 35, 40 now, seen their mother work, a lot of them. So it's not unusual, whereas my father a woman in the workplace, it wasn't very, it
That's
wasn't around.
normal, right? Yeah, usually,
Right,
right,
right. So they're not as intimidated, I guess.
right. I
Yeah.
think I think technology has helped us come of age a lot too and learn more about ourselves. Like I said earlier, I'm so frustrated with not knowing about how to live in this body as a woman in order to protect myself from harm or death, you know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
hormones.
Yes.
They
Well,
don't tell us about
yes.
hormones when when we start our periods. They should be talking to us about how to manage our hormones, in my humble opinion, from, before we start our periods.
Right, right. Well, there was hormones, it fell out of favor in
Yeah,
the 90s because of the increased risk for breast cancer. And now they
because
just,
some guy scientist made horses' urine a thing for women to take to use to balance their hormones, right?
no.
Premarin,
Yeah, yeah.
urine from a horse, from a mare, Premarin,
Oh, I didn't
and
know
and
that.
somebody thought that was right, but it caused breast cancer.
Well, tumor cells can have targets for hormones or estrogen on the tumor cells. So they didn't want to give hormones because they were afraid, oh, if we give you hormones, we could be making your tumor grow.
Yeah,
But these days their screening is so good that we can just
right.
go do it. And breast cancer, I mean, geez, mammograms, it's yearly. So.
Oh yes. Tell our audience how we can get in
Okay.
touch with you to get our medical cards, whether we're in Michigan or Ohio or Oklahoma.
Yes, it would be drcannabis.com, DRKENNABIS, and you can go ahead and make an appointment on there. I will be happy to see you. Oh, I should say this. I also have appointments for consultations only.
Oh,
So
great.
if there's anybody, they just want to discuss it, they don't know if they want their card, or if they are recreational and decide, you know what, I don't need that much cannabis, I don't want a card. I have a consultation, which is it's much less than a card. And then if you do decide to get a card, uh, I give you a discount on the difference. So
Let me explain to our dear audience why you should consider getting a card if you're only
yes.
recreational. You may not have had great satisfaction in finding relief for your issues if you've only been recreational, perhaps because you didn't understand how different delivery methods, whether smoking it, using a dropper, eating a gummy, can have various um, uh, time issues for you,
Mhm.
and also using the different terpenes to your advantage and different cannabinoids to your advantage. So there's quite a bit of fundamental cannabis information that could make your ride on cannabis so much better and
Mhm.
so much more effective for healing and relieving your needs and also saving you money. So even if you're recreational, please call Dr. Kelly. Talk to her about what your issues are, and she can help guide you to the correct product. And of course, you always want to make sure that whatever product that is, it comes with a certificate of analysis that proves it's been third-party lab tested for contamination and content. If they
Mhm.
say there's blah, blah, blah in this product, you want blah, blah, blah to be in there, right?
Right, right, right.
So Dr. Kelly can lead you to the right product for your issues. And if you're in, like we said, Ohio or Michigan or Oklahoma, give her a ring. just look her up at drcannabis.com, right?
Yes, thank you, honey.
Thrilled. I'm so tickled to see you, to meet you, and get to chat with you. Listen, I'm going to talk to you a lot more behind the scenes about something that I'm doing, an event that I'm planning, and I would dearly love for you to be involved in it. So
Sounds exciting.
I'm going to send you a little email after this, and we'll talk much, much more. We can get together. We're not too far,
Sure.
right?
Right. No,
Good.
yes. That's fine.
Good. I'm so glad. This is awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, dear heart, for coming and joining us and explaining to the audience what it's like to be in your shoes on your side of the cannabis card. And we so appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you, honey. You have a great rest of your week and weekend.
You too. Talk to you later.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to another Cannabis Truth podcast with 21st century cannabis shaman Honey Smith Walls. It is important to use verifiably safe products and look out for yourself while we're in this wild, wild west of cannabis right now. Ask for help. It can get complicated. If you need serious medical attention, please consult one of the specialists at cannabisclinicians.org. They will get you to the right person and therapy for your issues. Tune in here for weekly foundational knowledge and learn to determine the best choices and cannabis strategies for your issues. But please, be advised that shamans are not doctors or scientists. You'll find those at cannabisclinicians.org. Unless otherwise proven by a reputable third-party lab test, please regard all street weed as contaminated. It may do grave harm to a patient with a delicate immune system who already has inflammatory issues like arthritis, IBS, fibromyalgia, or worse. Thank you for your time today.